Welcome to another Shadow PC video here on our boost package. It's really exciting for me to do a video like this. It's been a while since I kind of did more of a deep dive into Shadow and a game running on it and kind of explaining why it runs the way it does and why I test the way I do. So really fun, really interesting video here for me for Shadow for Call of Duty. So the first thing we're going to do is run a speed test. A lot of people always ask me, what's the speed of the internet at Shadow? So for me here, we've got 1 gig internet, and I'll show you that running here. 1 gig down and 100 upload, which is really good, and I've always had a consistent experience with them. And downloading games is fast, even though we do have a shortage of storage. And even though they offer additional storage, it still kind of sucks that the boost package only has 256 gigs to start, because newer games, just 1 or 2 games can take that up. So anyways, there you have it. Nice, consistent, fast internet with Shadow. Here's the Shadow app. It only says 144 right now because I have the Speedtest app open, so it's running at maximum frame rate. 70 megabits per second, that's my bit rate. That works great for me with the new dynamic bit rate. I don't need high efficiency. It doesn't work well for me. It never has. If you need that, definitely, or if you're having trouble, you can check that out. So here we are, also my 1440p monitor, 144, and Shadow will run all of this at a variable refresh rate, which is great, and it makes for a smoother experience over the cloud. So there's your Shadow app. We're going to take another look at this app in-game as well, so that you can see it running that variable refresh rate. And you can see now that I closed the app as well. Like I said, we're gonna start going back down to something more normal. So, all right. So the first thing I want to do is jump over into the settings. And I have a mix of settings here. It's nothing in particular right now. I'm just dialing the game in at 1440p, and I'll show you later on why 1440p. 1080 just doesn't make much of a difference, a couple of frames per second, and we're going to talk about that later on in the video. But this is a mix of settings to get me close to that 60 FPS experience on Shadow. With newer games, you're just not going to max them out on the boost package, but you can dial them in to get you the experience you want. You could just knock everything all the way down as well and get as much frames as you can. I mean, there's a lot you can do here. And then, like I was talking about, we're going to in-game switch this resolution scale down to 1080, and I'm going to show you and explain to you what's going on and why you're not going to see much of a difference anyway in a game like this. So here we are in-game. MSI Afterburner, I've got you showing all 8 threads up there so you can see what's going on. And we're just going to run around a little bit, and you'll see that the experience is smooth, no issues, no jitters. Yes, you can continue to tweak the settings however you want to get a higher frame rate, a lower frame rate. Of course, in Call of Duty, you would normally want the highest frame rate, but for testing purposes, this is where I have it kind of dialed in right now, and I knew you were coming over here. So what a lot of people ask me about is latency, and it's really hard to show you how good it is, but for me on Shadow, I run 15 to 25 milliseconds most of the time. It's a great experience for me. Coming as a PC player who's used to almost instantaneous inputs, I'm able to play pretty well on Shadow, better than a console, at least the older consoles, the Xbox One, not so much the Series X now, but I've always described to people that the experience felt between a really high-end, fast, reactive PC and a console like an Xbox One original or something hooked up to a slow TV. Put it in between there, and that's kind of what you have. So
Objective is ours. We're building our momentum.
Alright, so before we get into any other gameplay, like I said, I want to jump into that Shadow app here in-game and show you matching my frame rate. The stream is actually matching the game's frame rate, which is great. There's a bandwidth being used, the latency that I have right now, no packet loss, and everything's just working really well. Stayed on my 1440p monitor, so we're good to go there. So check out a little bit more of this gameplay, and when we go to jump in and change it to 1080, I'll get in and explain what's going on there.
Target removed. Our momentum is increasing. Keep it up. Momentum increasing. Keep going. They're taking back their zone. Don't let that happen. Hostile marksman.
Alright, so this is where I want to go in and change our resolution scale down to the 1080, and you're not going to see a big difference here. You're going to see the threads get hit a little harder and the GPU a little less hard. So there may be instances and areas where you do get a little higher frame rate because maybe the CPU's not having to work as hard in that particular area of the map or particular area of the game. But for the most part, you're taking pressure off of a pretty high-powered GPU for this scenario and making the CPU try to work even faster and harder to feed it the frames that it wants. And so that's why lowering the resolution and taking load off of the GPU isn't helping when you're really bottlenecked by the CPU. And that's just really what's going on here. And we're gonna go sit still in the building here for a second. I'm gonna change it back and you'll see here we are about 60 to 62 frames per second right here. We bounced up to 65. So I'm going to put it back up to 1440p. Let it settle in for a second. And there we have 58. So 2, 55, 58, 2 to 7 frames per second really difference. It's not a big difference, and I really want to see the 1440p stream on my 1440p monitor. It just looks a lot nicer. So yeah, you can gain a little bit here and there, and it really is game dependent. It's something you're going to want to play around with. But if you're asking me why I'm not running 1080 on this particular game on Shadow, that's why. There's already enough CPU bottleneck that it's not going to help anything to change the resolution for me here. So, but other than that, Shadow Boost continues to be a fantastic experience. Call of Duty's running great here. I'm able to get some kills. I'm not having any lag or stutters or issues with my stream. Shadow continues to perform pretty well for me, even with a little bit of issues that it has with that aging hardware, the bottleneck CPU, and of course I've always had gripes about the lower amounts of storage, even though it's pretty fast SSD storage at that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this kind of helped you out understand a little bit about Shadow, running Call of Duty on here, and just kind of how their system, how their streaming is working. So if you guys haven't already and you're interested in the content, please think about subscribing to the channel. Throw this video a thumbs up, ring that bell, leave me your comments down below. And thanks again for coming to check it out. I'll see you guys in the next one.